Okay. Huh.
Good morning.
Okay.
What's good?
All right.
What time is this? Early.
It's not that early. I wish it was. It's 6:58.
Oh.
Okay. Let me finish this really quick.
Good morning, y'all.
Okay. Check. Whoa, that's loud. Check. This is so weird.
I hope that my mom and aunties don't listen today.
I know, seriously, this would be a terrible one. If we see them on it, we'll just tell them to go away.
We'll just change the questions.
We'll change the subject.
What's up, Paul? Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Hope it's nice on the Atlantic.
Okay, are we ready?
I believe so.
Okay. Hello and welcome to the Anatomy of Marriage podcast. I'm your host, Melanie Studley.
Good morning. My name is Seth Studley. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. Thank you for joining us today. Today's day 63, and we're going to talk about helping friends through divorce, talking to my husband about sex, and it's hard to orgasm.
If you're new here, welcome. This is episode 280 of the Anatomy of Marriage podcast, and we do this show because when we were going through a lot of hard stuff, we couldn't find resources that were real and raw and not judgmental and dumb, so we created that.
Is that judgmental?
Yes. But as always, this show is live on Instagram and Facebook. You can join us there every morning of the week at 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And this episode is brought to you by Audible. Please get a free audiobook on us. We use audiobooks all the time from Audible. And if you go to audibletrial.com/anatomy of marriage, you can get your free audiobook. And we want you to do that. It helps us out, and audiobooks are just the best.
And it helps you too. So
it does.
All right, review of the day. This is a super long one. So Stacy on Facebook says, 5 stars. By chance I found this. By intention, I'll continue listening. All right.
You just dissed that review.
No, I didn't.
You said this is a real long one. That's sarcasm.
I set up the listeners, and they're like, ooh, okay.
Yeah.
And then zing them.
Thank you for that review. Reviews are very helpful, so thank you so much.
They are. Thank you very much. It does count. And we're glad that you stuck around. Hopefully we're doing something right. So you want to jump into the question?
Yeah.
All right.
Question number 1. We've been married 16 years. We've been through my husband's porn addiction, separation, counseling. Was that 2 words? He's totally an avoidant, dismissive personality. I'm still working on boundaries and taking good care of myself. I have a stressful job at a trauma center and work 12.5-hour shifts 5 days in a row sometimes. He works at a hospital as well, but less stressful and also 12 hours. We have gone through spurts of no sex. Other night after day 4 of a 5 row of work, home at 8:30, chat with family, eat, throw in a load of laundry, took melatonin and tuck in at 9:30 so we can wake at 5. Husband asks if I want to play. I ask what that means and he says snuggle, and I know that means sex, but I just say yes to snuggle, but I'm really tired and need to get up early. He gets pissed and says he's tired of begging for sex. I get the idea that he will use this as a justification to use porn, like a threat. He literally asked one other time in recent history. As I go over in my head, I think he really thinks sex should just happen. I've tried to explain dual control model, but he doesn't get it. I'm not a porn star available at his convenience. How to address? Thank you for writing this question. That's a really uncomfortable and tricky and awkward conversation to have. And I think that it's really important, though, because I do honestly think that in a culture where pornography is so prevalent, I genuinely think that husbands think that way. That they go, oh, I'll make the request and it'll be answered, right? You know what I mean? Do you agree with that?
Yeah, hey Dana, that's like saying, what if we took that situation and said, well, okay, I'm just gonna go spend money. You know?
Expand on that.
Well, I'm not happy here. I got to get my mind off something. I'm just gonna go spend money as like a threat or something. If you don't if there's dinner's not ready, then I'm gonna go to Jack in the Box over here every single time or whatever. And that's just there's first of all there's flawed thinking in that, and I think I've heard of the dual control model, but I am not familiar, so I'm not gonna speak to that. But I'm thinking of, okay, what does foreplay look like, and what other expectations are there that are kind of unrealistic and almost don't make sense.
Yeah, well, I go back to what we were saying yesterday, even about the person saying they wanted to spend more time with like quality time or whatever. Like this conversation, the conversation needs to be had around this idea of what does talking about sex look like.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds so stupid because it doesn't sound like it's the right thing to talk about. But really, when you say, so here's a good example. This is something you and I have dealt with, where you'll be like, let's get in bed early. What the crap does that mean? Okay, I'll go to bed at 8:30. Yes, I win. Right? But that is not what you mean.
Right.
And when you are not clear about it, and you are kind, this person is not being kind about it.
Right.
But like, you need to be clear and kind. You need to say, I would like to get in bed at this time and do these things. And until we develop a
pleasure you.
until we develop a mature ability to have those conversations in a way that is not like stupid and makes people mad and makes people feel weird, so then they just kind of block everything off, we're not going to have what we want.
Right. And I also think oftentimes about what Dr. Corey Allen said.
The way we do sex is the way we do life.
Yeah. So around communication, around intentionality, like even when I say, hey, let's get in bed early, that's a lame kind of attempt to not...
It's extremely lame. And you're not telling me what you actually want.
Right. And like as that kind of behavior fits into the Enneagram 9 kind of thing, you know, like one way to get around that is like say what you want, your opinion matters kind of thing, and be assertive, not like a jerk, like, hey, let's do this. Like, hey, you know, this is what I was thinking. What do you think about that?
And I think one of the things that you could do in this particular instance with long work hours and all of that kind of stuff is figure out the language and have a wants list, if that makes sense. Because if you as a wife, and this is the next question is totally addressing the same topic or one of them in here. Yeah. So with you as a woman who has a different sex drive than your partner, and functionally are different in the sense that some are responsive, some are, what is the word? Sexually, like you have a responsive desire versus a spontaneous desire. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep.
And so if you have responsive sexual desire, you need something to make you want to have sex.
Let's explain that just really quickly. So this is what Emily Nagoski talks about. So a spontaneous sex desire is like something just triggers your mind. You're like, ooh, I could go right now kind of thing. Men are typically like that. Of course, some women are. But a responsive is like, I'm thinking like, foreplay.
Yeah.
Like, oh, in response,
stimuli.
My body is like getting ready and all this stuff, and that could be any time of the day, it doesn't matter. But there's a very big difference between spontaneous and responsive. So.
Yeah, and so I think that what's happening in this conversation is that your partner is obviously spontaneous. You are probably responsive, and the crappy double, triple crap about this is that pornography doesn't even... that is not a part of something that people learn when they are using pornography as education. Let's just say that. And so responsive desire does not factor in at all. And so not men, just people that use pornography do not understand that they are like putting blinders on an enormous factor of relationships, sexual relationships. They're just like, that doesn't exist. Oh, this is weird. And so they're not learning that skill. And women are, and I'm going to generalize. So men are this way, just whatever. Don't get mad at me. Who cares? But we often aren't taught these things. So then when we want to talk about, hey, I need a little bit more from you to get in the mood, we feel stupid. Our partner gets mad at us. They say, you're needy. Like, it's just not a thing we know how to talk about or do or have conversations around. So I want to start there. I want to start with, if you have responsive desire, meaning you need something to get you in the mood. That thing could be foreplay. It could be music. It could be a bubble bath. It could be a foot massage. It could be...
What was that echo? That was weird. Like in my cave. It could be also being intentional around 12.5-hour shifts. It's like there's not going to be much...
Don't. Stay on topic.
there may not be much responsive desire, even if things are going on, because you're working 12 hours and things are crazy and you're just tired. It's like your body isn't even thinking about that. Right?
You are pushing everything to the limits with that kind of work, which I don't understand why doctors, even nurses, work that long anyway. That's a different conversation. But you are like suppressing all the normal things like peeing and eating at a normal time and sleeping at a normal time to do that job, which those are wonderful, wonderful jobs. Obviously we need them, but that's part of that needs to be factored into when you're looking at the bigger picture of your sexuality. Is biopsychosocial spiritual. It's part of all of you, not just one facet of you. So it's very complicated to kind of untie it and untangle it because it's enmeshed in everything. But we often think of sex as this very different thing, and pornography is a huge part of that problem. And especially if you know that your husband has been using pornography or has in the past within your marriage, obviously that's going to be even worse.
And there's a separation. I would try to be as very direct and as possible, using the clearing structure to talk about this, and maybe even going to a sex therapist and also a counselor.
Well, hold on. Don't go to the next question yet. I didn't finish ever.
Okay.
So there, you talk about he has an avoidant, dismissive personality. So here's the thing that I have found with people like that. When they have an avoidant personality or they dismiss your whatever thing that you want to talk about, let me say it this way. A list is going to be very helpful. And I'm going to use this analogy because it's helpful for my mind. When you have a child that is sometimes like kids that have attention issues, or they are like on the spectrum, they will get angry at you as the adult for saying we need to leave at a certain time. But if you say 3 o'clock is the time we leave, that kid might get angry at the clock, not you. And that sounds really weird, but it's extremely helpful. That is what I do with our own children. Like if I say we're going to leave at 3, they argue with me about it. You want to know why? Because they think they can negotiate it. So if you tell with words your husband, these are the things I want, this makes me feel good, this is the kind of sex that I want to be having, whatever it is. If you say that and it's not written down, your husband's going to get mad at you, and he's going to argue with you, and he's going to bring it up later, and he's going to say whatever. But if you write that on a list, and I know this sounds weird. It sounds so bizarre.
It may, but it's helpful. So
yeah, if you can write it on a list and you say, here's the type of foreplay I need. Like legitimately, I want my feet rubbed, I want my hair brushed, I want a bubble bath, I want laundry in the, I almost said sink, laundry in the wash. Like I want these 5 things. And I don't mean want as in like, you will do them, slave. Right. Like, no, you are inviting a conversation and saying, if you as my partner is wanting, are wanting better intimacy, more regularity with our sex or whatever, you need to accept these are my terms. Like no joke, these are my terms. And if you want what you want, you'll do what I want. And I don't mean that in a weird like, what's the opposite of misogynistic? Feministic?
I don't think so.
You know what I mean? I don't mean it like that. Like it's not a threat.
It's in a respectful way, and it is creating boundaries around that. And it's not like saying like, okay, if these things don't happen, then other things aren't going to happen. And like, I'm too good if you don't do these things or stuff like that. So it is a weird balance, and I could see where that could go sideways when, you know.
It's all about the presentation, though.
It's all about the present. Well, it's also all about the attitude of the person doing it. You know, it's like, I told you these things, so
yeah, no, this is an invitation. But I want to be clear that you, as the wife, need to know what you want. You need to know what kind of foreplay works for you. You need to know what doesn't work for you. Don't say to me 5 minutes before we get in bed, want to snuggle? Like, just say to your husband, that doesn't work, and this is what I would prefer instead. But do it with kindness, do it with clarity. You need to be so flippin' clear on what you want so that your husband there's no gray space. Right. There's no gray space. He knows exactly what he needs to do. And when I say what he needs to do, that is an invitation for him to get what he wants. So have him listen to the episode. Let's just do that. Anyway, on to the next question. Totes about sex as well.
Okay, so we do talk about sex here, and it's in a therapeutic way, so whatever.
So high five to therapeutic sex.
That's right. Okay.
So this question was from the women's group.
And, oh man, okay.
So I will read it. Is sex an off-limit topic here? I hope not, because I'm really needing to know that I'm not alone. I'm literally sitting here in tears because I feel like such a failure. My husband tries so much to help me be satisfied, but I can't seem to have the mind-blowing orgasm that I am wanting, even when I'm the one who is in the mood and initiated. I feel like my husband gets tired of trying to help me get there, and I lose him. I can't be into feeling what's happening because I feel he's not even, though he says he is. I know it generally takes women longer, but I feel like it takes me too long. And if it happens, it's definitely not very satisfying. I feel like such a failure as a woman. This is something I feel like I should be able to do with no problem. Please tell me I'm not alone. I feel so alone. My husband thinks it's him, but it's totally not. It's totally me, and I don't understand why. I'm sorry if this is too much information. I just wish I had a friend I could really talk to about this, but all I have is you ladies. Now, don't you dare discount having us ladies, but you also have my husband.
So this is from, I'm assuming, the women's group.
Yes,
right? The women's Facebook group. And if we can't talk about things, then what are we even doing, right? So I don't even know, right? So here we are. We're going to talk about it because people have sex and people want to have good sex. And it's such a big part of us as humans. And it's not off limits because we're not talking trashy about it. We're not doing this. It's a bunch of psychoeducation and normalization kind of stuff. So there, yes. The first thing I thought of was actually trying to go to a sex therapist because there are several, and I'm not trying to diagnose people here, but there are several things that can inhibit people, not just women, but men and women, from having an orgasm. There can be painful sex. We can be in our heads the whole time, and not in our bodies, and not in our heart. We even talked about that on an episode, to where oftentimes I'm more in my head and not in my body, right? And that's it's not being in the present. It's not having present moment awareness. So if there's, and especially for women, because it's just different for men too, but generally women, if we're not in our bodies and our hearts, we're going to be in our head. We're going to be thinking of other things, dishes, different anxiety. Am I doing this right? Am I doing this wrong? What's going on? And then it's almost like missing the entire forest for the trees. You know, it's like being at a birthday party and worrying about crumbs getting on the floor instead of like looking at your kids smiling and laughing and eating delicious cake and ice cream. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then we find out we get robbed from that. So the first step is to talk about it, ask your community about it, and then also you might want to go to a sex therapist, because there are actual things and techniques that you can learn from a sex therapist. And when we say sex therapist, it means a licensed therapist, just like me, who has been certified in sex therapy stuff. And, you know, we've been asked questions. Well, do they like do sex and sex therapy? No, not at all. There's all kinds of literature, and like
they talk about these questions and
they talk about these questions and actually things about, like, it's education. It's an education around that. So I would try that. What are you thinking?
Well, and I want to clarify why he's saying a sex therapist specifically and not just a therapist, but they're different. So a generalized therapy practitioner does not have sex therapy training, and they are typically not sex therapy certified. And sex therapy does not mean positions and techniques.
Right.
It is literally like because sex is part of biopsychosocial spiritual, right? It's bio, and it's also spiritual, and it's psycho. I'm just kidding. I just want to say that. But it's
social.
It's part of that was funny. It's a part of all of our whole humanness and being, and we can't just sort of like pluck it out. So it's when we have to address things in a different way than we think we do, culturally speaking. That totally didn't make sense, but whatever. But one of the things I want to say about this question, and this is the imagery that came to mind, like, you know, when you open a bottle, like a soda, a pop, Coke, cola, whatever I'm saying, like in a can, or a plastic thing, but you are recycling.
A cheer wine.
A cheer wine. So let's say you're opening a cheer wine and you have not shaken the bottle. Is it going to fizz everywhere?
No.
What if you shake it a little bit? Is it going to fizz? Maybe. What if you shake it more than a little bit? Explodes. What if you really shake it?
Don't want to be around.
It's going to be sticky for days. That's the best analogy that I can think of when it comes to understanding the importance of things like foreplay and getting in the mood for the experience of better orgasms. Make sense? If you don't, I'm going to say, shake the bottle, not much happens. You can open it and it'll go, right? Right? That's okay. Decent. You opened it. Or if you shake it a little bit, it'll go, right? So the whole goal is to have it go
Oh boy, you're really doing great.
That was funny.
With the analogies.
Don't shame my analogy. I
I'm
will
just
not
kidding.
be shamed.
But the point is to. And
it wasn't your point. Let me continue saying
Okay.
my point. The point is that we need to figure out how to shake our own bottle. Okay? So often we are taught, especially if you grew up in church, I don't know if you did, if you grew up in a church where sexuality was shamed, it was silent, you were told you were like a whore if you thought about sex or any of that, that is going to make your ability to shake your bottle even harder, even worse, even more diminished.
Because you're going to be in your head.
Mm-hmm. So there's so many layers to this question, and my brain just keeps going all over. But I want you to, honestly, this is where I want you to start. You got to figure out what makes you fizz. Like, you got to figure out, and this is something that Tina talks about. If you haven't heard our sex and intimacy sessions with Dr. Tina or with Deb Thomas, the sex therapy sessions, go listen to those. There's there's at least 6. There's probably more than that. Go listen to those, but the concept is connection and pleasure. We are usually chasing orgasm, not connection and pleasure. You will not have an amazing orgasm without connection and pleasure. I mean, you can like force it, but let's not. Let's just figure out a better way to do this. And I think it starts with sex is not bad. Your body is not shameful. Figure out what makes you happy, what makes you feel good, what lights your fire. And then when you figure it out, feel it, experience it, let go of things. I do want to mention though, people who have ADD, women especially, often have a very hard time orgasming. If you have anxiety, you have a hard time orgasming because your brain is not present. Your brain is over here on your to-do list or over here with like, is my kid going to pass second grade, right? Like you have to get...
You're in your head.
So I would suggest things like yoga before sex, mindfulness meditation, or a bubble bath. Something that literally, like, will decompress and kind of relax your mind. That is often why when you hear us talk about sex, you hear me talk about wine. Because my brain, I probably have borderline ADD or anxiety or something. I fight it mentally. Like I have practices.
You should take some meds. You should try it out.
I could, but
Maybe. I don't know. So,
thanks for...
sorry.
Sure. Go on.
I just want to read some questions. Somebody says, therapeutic sex, that's great. We're serious about that, so it's not
conceptually serious.
Yeah. Let's see. It really helps to have a partner who is so concerned and patient with you finding your way of pleasure. Yep,
yes.
That's good. Yes, they're great sessions.
Yes, listen to those.
Absolutely, connection and pleasure. Yeah, that's true. And it can be as simple as having your feet be too cold.
Yes, let's talk about that, because I am hypersensitive. That's why I must have some sort of sensory thing. Like I cannot any sounds, my brain just goes boop, what's that sound, right? And any textures if I'm cold. So I have a heating blanket on our bed underneath our sheets at all times, only on my side. And I turn that on, right? Like if I'm cold, ain't nothing happening. Doesn't matter. Like I could have all the stimuli in the world. If I'm cold, I cannot achieve my goal. Right? So think about all of those settings, like setting yourself up for success intimately. And have, all of that. So thank you for bringing that up. That's very important.
100%.
Thank you for the question. Let's go on to the last one.
Right. And it is not an off-topic thing.
No.
Nothing
is off topic. Nothing.
Okay, let's see. Hi,
nothing,
Seth and Mel.
nothing, tra-la-la.
Hi, Seth and Mel. My husband and I have some friends who have been part of our lives together for about 10 years, and the husband has been great friends with my husband since early childhood. Long story short, they've been married for 2 years and have a 1-year-old, but recently things in their relationship have taken a toxic turn super quickly. I will save the dirty details, but there's been a lot of verbal abuse on both sides, control, and undiagnosed but pretty prevalent mental health issues. The wife has decided to go forward with the divorce, and things are not going to go smoothly. So how can we support each of them separately without upsetting the other? They haven't asked us to choose sides, but all signs lead us to believe that they only see their side and would like validation for their actions as opposed to their partners. Is there anything we can say that's not going to upset them or make them feel like we aren't for them, but also let them know what we would like to stay neutral? And also, how can we support them through this? Both are pretty prideful and do not like sharing struggles, even with friends or family, but they expect constant support, so we're automatically at a disadvantage of putting the pieces together ourselves. We just want to know how we can be there for each of them in this trying time. So
this is a great question.
That is an excellent question. So in my job, I have about 1 million different roles and 1 million different relationships within. Sometimes I can be the mom's therapist, the dad's therapist,
and even the kids therapist. That's not ideal situation, but sometimes it's necessary. And then with program development stuff, I can be great friends and colleagues with these high up people over here and these high up people over here. But guess what? These two people don't like each other, but they know that I know all of them. So I literally have to manage a lot of relationships all the time. And sometimes it gets toxic, sometimes it just gets stupid. And I constantly, literally reiterate to my families and to all these people in my circle who, you know, executive people over here and over here, that I literally say this. I say, you know, there's a lot of dual relationships here, and my sole purpose is to advocate for mental health in Indian country, and I try to walk upright as much as I can, and I don't talk crap about people. I mean, it's much more eloquent than this. And this is what I'm doing, right? So I don't take sides, I don't judge, I don't do anything except try to push the agenda forward in a good way. And that has worked for 12 years. Sure, people may have talked crap about me or whatever, but that people can talk, it doesn't matter. So in this case, when you want to be as objective as possible, and I'm sure your husband has some loyalties to his friends since childhood, right? And since they're not open, I think the best way to because maybe your husband's friend was doing really stupid stuff and just went completely sideways, and the wife was like, I'm not dealing with this crap, you know? Or maybe she's gone off the deep end and the husband's just like, I don't know, I'm just trying to live, right? So you don't know. So the best absolute, I think, in my opinion, would be like, tell both of them, listen, we're not going to take sides in this because I don't think that's right or whatever. I'm here to support you in any way that I can, and that's how we're moving forward. Because what you're going to have to do is create boundaries, and maybe these folks aren't so cool with boundaries, and maybe that's part of their problem.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So.
Well, and the first thing that came to my mind is that like Seth's, what he's saying is exactly what you need to do if you want to support them through this, is being, I think of like in like the Lord of the Rings, those big statues on the sides of the banks of the river. Like you have to be, in a way, you need to be immovable, like unchangeable. I don't mean they can't tell you things and you can't hear them. I mean, you need to be like, this is my position, right? Here's what you say. I will support you as an individual as you walk through this divorce. You are going to want to convince me that he's wrong. I will hear what you say. I will still stay neutral. I am immovable. You may tell me all the things, and I will not change my mind. I am for both of you as people individually.
Right.
And just say it. And just say, and like, be like, and so here's why I'm saying this. This is how my dad has been my entire life. He's like, I'm not going to be swayed. Like, you're not going to tell me this person is bad and that person is good, because all people are people, right? People make bad choices and good choices. They do dumb things and smart things. And he has done that my entire life. He's been like, I will not be persuaded otherwise. And so your friend can try to persuade you, and the thing you have to do is stay neutral, because here's what you said. They are both prideful, and they do not like sharing their struggles, even with friends and family. You can be the example of the friend and family that they see that's not going to turn on them, judge them, right? You see what I mean when I'm saying all this? But that means you have to choose now. I mean, gosh, this is just like me talking about parenting, right? Like, I have to choose with my children. They can say the most unkind things to me ever. I will not be broken. I can't. If I'm broken, I've broken myself to them, and we aren't in a place where that can happen or work.
Then that messes them up.
Yeah, so you need to stay like the most solid statue of a person for that relationship, but tell them explicitly why you're doing that, and then walk through that with them. And it will be a daily challenge, like each time. And you might have to remind yourself, I am being strong here, this is why. And if they try to persuade you and they get mad at you for not agreeing, tell them again, I told you in the beginning. You can even write it on a piece of paper. They can get mad at the paper. Right?
That's right. Somebody says, going back, that's funny to hear you say women have ADD. I have it. My kids have it. The doctor says women can't get it. Just an observation about medical diagnosis in different parts of the country. What?
Oh my gosh.
What doctor are you going to? Because that's crazy.
That is like, really crazy.
Women
I was just listening
have
to
ADD.
Yeah, it's a neurogenetic disorder in your mind. It's not like oh gosh.
It's not. It's. How about this? ADD doesn't discriminate
No, based on gender lines.
based on gender.
Okay,
hold on. Somebody says, such good advice. Thank you for doing what you do. You're very
You're
welcome.
welcome.
Trying to help.
Thank you for saying thank you. It really matters a lot. So one of the things I want to comment on right here, and if you're watching the video with us, I got a little gift in the mail.
Ooh, a little
I
peas
got
in
a
the pod.
birthday present from Rochelle, and it says it's your birthday. And I got amazing things I wanted to share really quick. She gave me magnesium spray, which I am all about. I can't make it apparently show up on the screen. And then adaptive multi-nutrient drink mix. If you are a human and you know who I am, my love language is things that are helpful. That's a new category I'm making.
With
So
a sweet, creamy, malt-like flavor.
thank you so much for giving me that gift. I cannot tell you how excited I am. I use magnesium citrate. I ingest magnesium citrate at night, and I love it. So the fact that you have a magnesium spray and you shared it to me for my birthday gift, and thank you. Anyone who sent me a birthday gift, you're all angels in my eyes.
Good job,
So
guys.
thank you.
Thank you for
Thank
being
you.
nice to my wife. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So, somebody says, you deserve it, Melanie.
Oh, thank you.
do. A side note, Melanie made a really sweet post yesterday, and our 15th anniversary is coming up, which is super cool. It's tomorrow. We'll probably go out to dinner or something, take the kids. But that is rad. So 15 years. That's pretty crazy. I'm excited to do the show tomorrow morning.
Yeah, it's going to be really exciting. And then before we wrap up, though, I want to talk about two different things, I think. 2 or 3 different things. So the first one is I want to talk about anatomy of marriage group therapies. Groups. What? We were talking, like we mentioned yesterday, it is very hard to find a counselor that you trust, someone who understands the way you process things. And if you've been a part of our community just as a listener for a long time, you use our language. You use our analogies.
Right.
Like it's the way you're perceiving.
You guys talk about family of origin. You talk about pursue distancer. You talk about
Brakes
high
and
drive, low
accelerators.
drive.
Yeah. You talk about all the stuff the way that we talk about it. And so what better thing to do for your therapy than to join one of our group therapy things, whatever they're called, groups. And it's significantly less monthly than it would be to see an individual therapist, and you have the support of the entire community that is in the group therapy groups.
So first, you're saying that this will be a paid group.
Yes, it's not free. We're giving tons away for free. We need to start making some moolah.
And like we said a couple days ago, you value more what you pay for.
Yes, the things that you invest in.
I can make a coffee here sometimes, or I can go to Starbucks and pay for it. And sometimes I look forward to the Starbucks coffee more because it's the experience. And so when you join a group therapy thing or a group like ours, and you have direct access to other people, not just us, but other people, you're going to value it more. You're like, oh, I'm doing something. I'm doing something for my marriage.
Yeah.
It's kind of like getting a pair of dumbbells at home,
Smart bells.
going to Walmart and buying some dumbbells, go, oh yeah, I'll work out. Or be like, I got a gym membership. Now I'm going. I got to get clothes and go. It's a much different process.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
That's okay. And you think about the proximity principle with our friend Kenny Coleman and all this stuff. So if you want to be in proximity to men and women who are single, married, engaged, or have been together forever, and who have the same mindset about marriage, a growth mindset, I want to learn more about vocabulary. I want to talk about sex. I want to be psychoeducated. I want to improve my relationships. I want to be in my heart and body more than my head. Then think about joining our paid group.
And I want to say too, especially and I'm just going to lay it out here real honest, a lot of times the women are the ones who are carrying these relationships, relationally speaking, not in all ways. And so it's amazing to think that your husband could be a part of a man's group, like the men's group, where he can get his A kicked if he needs to, right?
I'll do it.
Throw out
I might even cuss.
I'll do it. But you can throw out an idea, a concept, a conversation starter, and even, there's just so many opportunities here where it can bring community and help in ways that individual therapy just can't. And there is a place for individual therapy. Do not hear me saying that this replaces individual therapy, because it doesn't. But I wanted to talk about it. I want to get it into people's brains. We'll eventually have a sign up thing soon.
Yep,
so
we're working on that currently. Somebody says, I'm in Indiana. This is about the women not having ADD. My comment about the therapeutic sex I found funny because my fiance has high anxiety. It wasn't to diminish what was being said.
No.
Oh yeah, I know. But if you think about it, like as actual, like Melanie's talked about, and even I kind of laughed, but it's interesting, like relaxation sex.
Oh yeah,
like there's
that was what started this whole thing.
There's different like types of things. And if you can think of like, okay, you start thinking about sex at night, you know, with your partner at 2 p.m. or something, like, yeah, like I want it to be like a chill and relaxed and very intentional. That can happen, and it's awesome when it does happen, right? But it just doesn't poof happen, you know. Somebody says it's so hard because you don't want to let it affect your marriage by letting maybe differences in opinion drive a wedge between you and your husband while they go through the stuff.
With the divorce stuff. That's really hard, and it takes a lot of sort of self-agency, self-awareness, knowing your triggers around other people's opinions, because that can happen for sure. That can happen. You can get mad at your husband because of what her ex-husband did to her, right? Like that happens all the time.
Yeah.
But the other thing I wanted to mention before we wrap up all the way is that we are also preparing to launch our premarital series.
That's right.
So our premarital series is a video course that we produce. It has worksheets that couples can do together, and we're so excited about it. It's not just for engaged people. You can be for seriously dating people, newly married people, engaged people, but anyone can
even
take
married
course.
people that kind of want to.
Essentially it's like our workbook. Like it's like our offer of sit down and do this crap together. It's going to be very helpful, and we have incredible resources around it. And there's a whole podcast season that is all premarital, and all of it is just all marriage stuff. So it applies to anyone in any phase of marriage, really. But we're really excited about that. We're going to get that out to you very, very soon. And we're working on all of that. We've got lots of stuff going on.
Yeah.
But we just want to kind of put the bugs in your ear about the group therapy model we're talking about, as well as the premarital series stuff that's coming to launch soon. And then lastly, please rate and review the podcast on iTunes.
That's right.
If you wanted to give us an anniversary gift, that would be the anniversary gift that you would give us. Please, please, please rate and review the show. It helps new people find us. It helps legitimize. It's social evidence to people who come across our show and they're like, ew, gross, only 700 reviews. These people must suck.
I said this a long time, probably 2 years ago, and it's in my like highest chief aim kind of thing. And we are aiming to have literally the #1 rated marriage podcast. So I believe we will do it, and we can do it because we do good content. And there's a need for it too. So send in everything. We want to know you. We want to talk to you and interact as much as possible.
Write your questions. You can send them to hello@anatomyofmarriage.com or put them in our feeds.
That's right. Tag us on Instagram and also Facebook, and share with your friends. Share our podcast by tagging other people.
And again, thank you, Rochelle, for the amazing birthday gifts.
Rochelle? I think it's Rochelle.
Did I say Rochelle? Rochelle?
I know, I'm just kidding. Hold on. One more question. Let's see. Is the group therapy going to be with couples only, or will there be all women's group and all men's group, or together?
It'll be all three of those things.
It'll be all three of those things.
We'll have different, what's the word? Groups. Like we'll have different private groups. So the women will have their own channel, like we do in the women's group. The men's will have their own, and then there'll be a joint one where we can do couples, like actual couples session type vibe going on. I hope that makes sense. Okay, we got to get off here. So I don't know how to review. I don't have iTunes. I don't know either. I got to send something to make it work. You can review on Facebook, and we'll post that as well.
Yeah, that's good.
But thank you guys so much.
All right, love you guys.
I love you too. Bye. Bye. I like how you said goodbye like I say it just now. Bye. You went bye.
Oh well.
I didn't do it, so you did it, huh?
Is that from a movie?
No, I just always have said goodbye like that.
All right, people. Adios.
People.
Going to the doctor. Doing some stuff. Okay.
One of my birthday gifts from Seth. Beats.
Is it going to be like virtual meeting sessions? I'm really curious about this. Yeah. Like maybe either a Zoom call or a live where it just kind of goes a bit. But the point is, you'll have more of us and there'll be less of people. So like a smaller ratio to be like, somebody has a question, let's discuss that. Very back and forthly kind of thing. So you'll also have the benefit of a community who everyone has
for you and
paid money to be there. So everybody is fully dived in. So
and then too, like we want to make the model where we do the main session group therapy, and then the women have their own one, not just their own group, but their own session. Like we all talk as women, like in a call, a real one. And
we're going to be focusing on, I didn't tell you this, but you know how we talk about bio, psycho, social, spiritual? I've created like a thing where we're going to talk about all those, and it's going to
We don't have
it's
the
going
price
to be well rounded.
figured out quite yet.
Yeah, we don't have it
we will.
yet. It'll be a monthly kind of thing. Yeah, we're going to talk about everything from money to fitness to sex to
Yeah, it's like a
relationships.
full. It's biopsychosocial spiritual. You can't detach those things from other things.
That's right.
So it's exciting.
And I have a thing, even a logo for it that I haven't told you about. So
Oh.
you guys can find that out later. All right, we got to go. Love you.
Bye. Okay, I have to figure out if we can publish this before.